Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Tesla stock is up 5% today. Today is a huge day. It's monumental, and we'll go over why that is in today's episode. This really does set up a series of Fed cuts with basically a certainty following the CPI report and the initial jobless claims today that is fueling risk on areas of our markets today. We're about to see an aggressive end of the year rally, in my view. We have a lot of news to get into here in this video, but I want to start this video with, man, what a tragedy yesterday was. The whole Charlie Kirk thing really hits me hard. This was an attack on every American, because you can no longer freely speak your opinion without fear. This was not an attack necessarily on just the right. This was an attack on all of America. So I just want to start this video with that. So if I'm a little off in this video, that's why. This one really gets to me because of that. So hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, check out the link down below in the description of this video if you want to come trade with us in real time every time we make trades or investments. Come join that group, link down below in the description of this video, but more on that in just a few moments. Let's get into today's episode. And as always, we're going to start this video with your Tesla stock news, but I think it has little to do with Tesla specifically, why the stock is up 5% today. As I've talked about on this channel many times before, all of the good news we've been getting for Tesla should not go unnoticed, right? You need to pay attention, because once the markets change, once the sentiment changes, once the narrative changes, as it looks like it kind of is at least a little bit today, and more so into the end of this year, all of that good news is going to come around and come back to being a positive catalyst for Tesla. That's why Tesla is outperforming other big tech stocks by such a large margin today. I mean, Palantir's red 1%, Meta's up 0.1%, Amazon's up 0.5%, Google's up 1/3%, Nvidia's down 0.2% today, but Tesla's up over 5%. Okay, it's the culmination of all of the good news we've seen recently for Tesla. Now, in the news yesterday, which is big, that again is going to highlight this point. Even if like a day like yesterday was not a huge day for Tesla when this news came out, once the sentiment flips, then everyone's like, oh my gosh, this is actually really good, right? Partially why Tesla is up 5% today probably has to do with this. Tesla's new Model Y L is sold out for October in China, with new orders showing an estimated delivery date for November 2025 at the earliest. So very strong demand over in China. William Blair, Tesla analyst Jed Dorsheimer on the Mega Block and Megapack 3 says, quote, "This is a game changer for grid storage customers and a strong data point from our bullish thesis on the energy storage business. We are finding it increasingly difficult to maintain a market perform rating, especially with the positive momentum in the energy business and Robotaxi." So they're saying, hey, we might have to raise our rating to maybe an outperform on Tesla, which basically means that Tesla will outperform the S&P. An equal weight rating or market perform rating on Tesla means, like, if the S&P goes up 20%, Tesla is going to go up 20%. UFC champion John Jones, who has nearly 10 million Instagram followers, posted a video of him using FSD supervised in his truck. He says, quote, "Man, the Cyber Beast is a straight up game changer. Bulletproof, ridiculously quick and dead silent. Drives itself too. No more traffic tickets for your boy." Tesla has announced that by the end of 2026, they expect to have around 4.5 gigawatts of grid-forming battery storage operating across Australia. According to Joseph Tedek, regional director of Tesla Energy, APAC says that this figure is expected to double again in the future as grid-forming battery energy storage systems become a staple of the Australian energy system. Tesla confirmed that it has over 4.5 gigawatts or 12 gigawatt hours of grid-forming BESS in the pipeline across Australia, with projects in various stages of development. And Tesla Boomer Mama on X showed Elon's security only totaled about $3.3 million last year. She tags Tesla and the board and says, "Can you please increase this dramatically? We wrote you a shareholder letter more than a year ago." And Elon Musk commented on this and said, "Definitely need to enhance security." So in light of recent events with Charlie Kirk and Elon's obvious polarizing personality, it looks like his security is going to be upped, which is a big positive for Tesla. I mean, there is a premium assigned to Tesla because Elon is the CEO. If something were to happen to Elon, that would be a big disaster for Tesla stock. Amazon-owned Zoox has just launched a limited Las Vegas commercial robotaxi service following years of testing in the city. Again, following years of testing in the city, that's not impressive. Now, it's good that you have, autonomous vehicles getting into, a city like Las Vegas, right? That's going to make it easier for Tesla potentially to get approval in that city. But is Zoox a competitor to Tesla? Not really. We can also see new Model Y performance vehicles that are on their way to customers. And also in big news today, Tesla has officially received approval from the Nevada DMV to start testing autonomous vehicles or robotaxis on public roads. It says here, "Today I confirmed directly with the Nevada DMV that Tesla's application to obtain a testing registry certification was approved by the DMV Office of Business Licensing team today. Autonomous plates and the registry certificate were also sent back out to Tesla yesterday. Next, to officially start offering robotaxi rides to the public in Nevada, Tesla will need to complete the self-certification for operations step to roll out a service similar to the one they currently operate in Austin, Texas, where there is no one in the driver's seat. This approval shouldn't be difficult to get." So this is another big catalyst for Tesla today. It looks like they're going to be expanding relatively soon. And, robotaxi is not something that Wall Street has paid a lot of attention to. And it's about time they start. Now, in option activity today for Tesla, you have 250 different trades totaling $35 million from hedge funds and institutions. These are big money trades with a positive order value of 58%. You can see 1.08 million shares today so far that have been sold short or covered on, I should say. So there is quite a bit of shorts covering. You have 2.88% short interest of free float, $27.18 billion sold short in Tesla stock, totaling 78.15 million shares sold short and 13.95 million shares out on loan. That number keeps dropping, now down 40% in the last 3 months. That just shows you there's not a lot of appetite in general to take out shares on loan to even have the option to short. Now, we are going to talk about this more in depth in the next video, but Tesla is actually at a critical level from a technical perspective. You are now hitting highs you have not seen since back here on May 29th. The high of the day on May 29th was $367.71. The high of the day today so far, $366 per share. Okay, so you're right there at that level. If you could start to break out, close at a new high potentially, that would be huge for Tesla stock. And I think over the next couple of days, what happens from here? Do we get rejected or do we rise and break out into this new range? Is really going to confirm a lot for us. So we'll talk about that more in the next video. But it is about that time to get into what's happening in the broader markets today, because I honestly think that's the real catalyst. S&P up 0.77%, NASDAQ up 0.5%, and the Russell, look at that, up 1.7% today. That's the real outperformer. So risk on. And again, you can see today the Dow is up 1.35%, S&P 500 up 0.76%, NASDAQ up 0.63%, Russell up 1.6%. The VIX is down about 3% today. Bond yields are dropping about 1.5 basis points to 4.019%. At one point, they fell below 4%. So you have seen another drop in interest rates. That's great. Oil down 1.7% today. Natural gas down 3%, and Brent crude down about 1.5%. Gold even down 0.2%. Now, if gold was skyrocketing today, I would say the recession trade may be coming back a little bit. But the fact that gold is actually red today, I think is positive in correlation to what the broader markets are doing. So what's happening today is kind of multifold, okay? So we had CPI. CPI month over month for the headline came in at 0.4%. The expectation was 0.3%. That came in a little bit higher, but that's dominated again by food and energy, which we don't really pay too much attention to. CPI core month over month came in at 0.3%. Expectation was 0.3%. CPI year over year for the headline came in at 2.9%. And CPI core year over year came in at 3.1%, meeting expectations in all categories. But if you look at US super core CPI month over month, that only came in at 0.33% versus the expected 0.48%. So core, super core CPI came in much better than expected. And I think that is the positive takeaway from the CPI report today. But initial jobless claims soared to the highest since October 2021 at 263,000. Okay. Honestly, I'm a little shocked that markets are taking this so well. Initial jobless claims, this is for the week of September 6th, are seen as one of the most up-to-date measures of the labor market. Okay. This skyrocketed. I mean, from the expected 235,000 to 263,000. Wall Street is taking this as followed. There's weakening, but it's not recessionary. Inflation, while high, is not going higher. And the Fed now needs to cut at least 4 times over the next 4 Fed meetings. So that's what you're currently pricing in. 4 rate cuts over the next 4 meetings. You can see that here. Rate futures pricing reflects bets on 4 straight quarter point Fed rate cuts through January. So Wall Street is saying we have some weakness, but we're going to be getting a bunch of cuts. And Wall Street is literally voting with their dollars today, saying the rate cuts are going to be better than the weakening in the markets. It's a fine line here, okay? You guys know, I don't think we're going into a recession. The U.S. economy for a very long time has not just like slipped into a recession. That doesn't happen, okay? The economy is too big. It's too diversified. I've made this analogy with a boat many times now. If you're in a small fishing boat, like you can turn very easily, right? Things can turn for the analogy's sake, right? The turn is the economy, right? If you're in a yacht, it's going to take a little longer to turn. If you're in a cruise ship, the biggest ship in the world, it's going to take a while to turn that thing, okay? That's kind of a representation of the economy over time, right? Back in the 1800s, you had recessions all the time because the economy was like a small fishing boat. It could change and turn pretty quickly, okay? Well, today, it's a very large economy. Things don't just go to crap overnight, especially earnings in the markets. They don't tend to be super good. Like last quarter that we just got through was the best earnings season we have seen in a very long time, in many, many years for the markets, right? The odds are very low that earnings collapse next quarter or the quarter after that, right? So again, Wall Street is saying these rate cuts are a larger positive for stocks and for the economy than slight weakness in the economy. But if we start to see economic data coming in worse and worse, that will flip, right? Because Wall Street doesn't understand the way the economy works. So the Wall Street looks at data and says, hey, we could go into recession. Like, we don't need some kind of shock event. In all reality, you need a shock event to go into recession. Like, it's almost impossible to go into a recession without a shock event. At least we haven't seen that in a very, very long time. So this is the big catalyst today that is pushing risk assets higher. And you can see here, if we look at the probabilities for what the Fed is going to do, there's a 5% chance of a 50 basis point rate cut September 17th, 95% chance of a rate cut coming next week. For October, you are looking at an 88.7% chance of another cut. For December, you're looking at a 77.3% chance for another cut. For January, you're looking at a 47.7% chance of another cut. For March, hold on, let me make sure. There's a 26.8% chance of another cut and a 44.5% chance of a pause. So even in March, the odds are growing that you get another cut in March. That would be a cut over the next 5 Fed meetings. Okay. There's only a 10% chance of a cut at every Fed meeting through April of 2026. Like, yeah, that in theory should help offset any weakness in the economy and boost things, prop things up a little bit. PIMCO's Wilding on US data says, PIMCO's analyst Tiffany Wilding said inflation met expectations, but a sharp rise in jobless claims is more concerning. After a year of weak labor activity, the increase signals potential layoffs, which she called super concerning for the Fed. ECB President Lagarde says disinflationary process is over. But she says we continue to be in a good place. Inflation is where we want it to be. And a Utah official says that the shooter in the Charlie Cook assassination moved across the roof to the shooting location and then fled into a neighborhood. Utah officials say that they have good video footage of the shooter. And they actually recovered the weapon that they believe was used in the shooting. Donald Trump announced Charlie Kirk will be awarded the Medal of Freedom, the highest honor for a civilian. Trump says, if you attack the U.S., we will hunt you down. Lutnick says, we're going to sort out India on trade. Lutnick says, we'll sort out trade once India stops buying Russian oil. So basically, it looks like eventually there will be some kind of trade deal done with India. U.S. Commerce Secretary Lutnick says there's a big deal coming with Taiwan. Lutnick says we will probably get a deal with Switzerland. Lutnick says we made a deal with South Korea. We will see if they come through. Lutnick says that tariffs are bringing in $40 billion a month. Lutnick says we will see GDP growth next year over 4%. Lutnick says the Europeans will block Chinese cars. They'll learn. Chinese cars are not competitive. They're government-backed. Lutnick says that Trump will make deals with nations for workers. We'll get short-term training visas. Lutnick says the government of China is eating most of its tariff. China is paying an average tariff of 52%. Lutnick says he is confident the Supreme Court will side with the U.S. on tariffs. And Lutnick says that NVIDIA and Trump settled on 15% revenue share. The IMF, the International Monetary Fund, says, quote, our sense is the Fed has the scope to begin to lower rates. UBS puts the recession probability at 93%. This is actually very bullish if you're a bull, right? You want to see people bearish on this market so they get proven wrong, and that's where stocks will continue to climb. And the FBI is seeking the public's help to identify a person of interest in the fatal shooting of Charlie Cook at Utah Valley University. They've released these images with a $100,000 award leading to an arrest. U.S. mortgage rates post the biggest weekly drop in at least the last year. Trump's nominee to be ambassador to India says the U.S. is on track of resolving hiccups in the relationship with India. This headline here from Axios says Lutnick moves the goalpost on Trump's ownership of the economy to the end of this year. Goldman Sachs CEO David Solomon says job data shows signs of economic softening. Now, the odds of a government shutdown are up to 55% on Polymarket today. We did get a new AI investor sentiment survey today that is so bearish, it is incredibly bullish, okay? Again, as I've talked about many times on this channel, you need to see people that are bearish. You need to see bearish positioning, like shorts being short in our markets, for an upside surprise to happen, for stocks to go up, and for shorts to cover, or for more investors to get off the sidelines and get into markets. Now, bearish investors today are coming in at 49.5%. That is up from 43.4%. So an over 6% rise in bears. Neutral investors fell from 23.9% to 22.5%. So a drop of about 1.5%. And bullish investors fell from 32.7% to 28.0%. So if you're bullish right now, you are damn near in the minority. Okay, you're damn near like standing there by yourself at this point. Not a lot of people are bullish on this market in simple terms. The CNN Fear and Greed Index has also reset a lot recently, sitting at 53 today, which is neutral. Market momentum is greed, stock price strength, extreme greed, stock price breadth is greed, put and call options is greed, market volatility is neutral, safe haven demand is in fear, and junk bond demand currently in extreme fear. If we look at the percent of stocks trading above their 50-day moving average, this is again a big day. In terms of the internals in our markets, the risk on nature of the day today, you see about 5% of stocks breaking above their 50-day moving average, currently sitting at 64% of stocks. So typically what happens before a large market drawdown, like a correction or crash, is the internals of our markets get weak, right? Like big tech or certain areas can hold things up until they don't anymore. Well, what you're seeing here is the internals of our markets are actually strengthening from about mid-July. So you've actually seen a improvement in market breadth over the last month or two, which is a sign that, you know, even though we're in a weak seasonal September period, like we're not in utter danger of seeing some kind of reset in stocks. At least that's how I'm looking at it. So hit the like button as well as subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Check out the link down below in the description of this video. If you want to come join us again, what we're doing over there is going out finding small cap AI stocks before Wall Street does. Okay, that's what we do. That's how, you know, we can, in my view, minimize risk and maximize reward, is not investing in the zombie dog shit companies, but going out and finding the really good ones, okay? And investing in those really good ones before Wall Street understands the opportunity. This portfolio year to date is up 169.67%. I think this portfolio is going to turn into well over $1 million by 2027. So that's the goal. We'll see what happens. So far, so good. Recently, one of our stocks has really went parabolic. Today is a good day for the entire portfolio, but one stock has really been working well, and I think it's still early stages for that one. So yeah, come check it out if you'd like to. Remember, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a financial planner. I can do some reckless shit sometimes that is definitely not going to suit your personal financial decision. So come to your own conclusions and contact a financial advisor before making an investment decision. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.